After the fires in LA, the water in Southern California coming into the news, which is that reservoir maybe had nothing to do with the water problems that we were facing in California. What are the executive orders on water?
So there was a water order that Trump put out basically saying to put people over fish. And there was an issue in Trump's first administration. He wanted to see more water flowing from the Sacramento region. Northern California is water rich. So coming out of the Lake Tahoe Sierra Mountains, it's just an abundance of water. Whereas the exact opposite in Southern California. You have the perfect climate down here, but there's not so much water. So the state delivers water from the rich areas or the water wealthy areas down throughout the state. What Trump wanted to do in his first administration was increase those water flows so that we would see more water coming down.
So they have the pumps, right? They could pump more water out of the delta, right?
Yes, absolutely. And this could benefit farmers on the way through the Central Valley, could fill reservoirs in Southern California, potentially give more water down here. So the way Trump sees this is increase water flow, we could decrease fire risk in Southern California while also benefiting the farmers. Now, environmentalists in California, this has been an ongoing battle between water rights individuals, people who want to see water for communities and farms, and people who want to see environmental actions. And according to Trump, this water supply is diminished coming out of the San Joaquin Delta because the environmental agenda is to protect this Delta smelt, which is a fish. It's not on the food supply. No one likely has ever encountered this fish, but from some environmental perspective, there was a need to decrease water in certain rivers, streams, and systems in order to protect this fish. And maybe it can't deal with the flows. There's all these different scientific reasons why you might want to make these decisions. But once it's been made, now you have one perspective that says we're making decisions based on the life of this fish rather than the life of society and humanity, and that we need this water. So what Trump has ordered is for more of this water from the San Joaquin Delta to be delivered down to Southern California. Now, the order doesn't condition federal aid on following his request, but he has repeatedly said this over the last 2 days in different comments. And the question now is, how does California respond? If the state is forced to do one thing or another in order to receive federal aid, how does it respond? We asked Governor Newsom's office this. They said exactly as you said in the question, that these two water sources have nothing to do with the fires, that yes, we could get more water down through the Central Valley from the San Joaquin, but they're saying that this is an apples to oranges comparison, that there is no correlation between water in Northern California and the fires in Southern California. This is a difference of opinion between the state government and the federal administration. Trump has come back and said that even more adamantly that he wants to see the water from the Pacific Northwest used for California. He said that there's another executive order coming in addition to this people over fish order. Hasn't materialized yet, so we don't know the details of that. We've reached out to the governor's office. Everyone is in a wait and see approach is what the lawmakers are telling us. No one really knows what the federal government wants at this time, and in the same vein, how to respond. So there is going to be a negotiation period as we go forward, and Trump is on the way here, could be landing right now in LA as we speak. So all this could change. Like as we tape right now, we know this is what Trump has said to this point. He's kept this trip closely guarded. No one knows what remarks he's going to make, and it's going to be very interesting to see how the governor and the president work together on this and other issues.
So Travis, the state leaders are saying we have enough water, but on the show, a lot of the farmers complain about not having enough water. And water agencies, we've interviewed certain water agency leaders in Southern California that say they don't have enough water, and there's initiatives to cut from them, so they have to figure out how to cut back and conserve. There's an element of, besides the fire, we have a shortage of water here.
Yes, and it's a huge issue. When you drive up and down the Central Valley, you see it everywhere. All of these farms with signs up saying one way or another their slogan that they need water, that water is how we produce food. And as California is essentially the breadbasket for much of the nation, water use here is vital. We have farms throughout the Central Valley. We have millions of people in Southern California that whether they want their yard or they just need for their average daily use, we've been told for the last 10, 20 years now to conserve water in this state. They're put in everything from the and Trump has opposed all of this, the sprinkler heads, the faucets, everything is to lower consumption. So on one side, we're being told, yes, that we do have a water shortage, we need to conserve, and then we're also being told that we have enough water. So one of the other points of contention is that we do have what some estimate is trillions of gallons of water washing out into the Pacific Ocean every year. And this is one of the issues that Trump brings up repeatedly when he mentions his metaphorical valves that he wants turned on or off to bring water. He's just saying that if we're in a state or a situation where we're claiming to not have enough water, we should do everything we can to capture the water. And California is one of those states where we are water wealthy for part of the year. We have a true Mediterranean climate, especially in Northern California, where we get an abundance of water and then we have none. So it's not necessarily that we don't have water, it's a water management, a water storage issue.
And the dispute is environmentalists say the water should go to the environment, and then others are saying the water should go to the farms and
Yes, and to benefit the communities. And that's what Trump's order, the one that he's already signed, that's his demand, is that instead of letting this water wash out to sea, let's flow it through California and let everybody benefit from it.
Now, on the electric mandates, there was an interesting development. Before the Trump administration took over, the electric truck mandate got canceled. Right?
Yes. California's Air Resources Board rescinded their waiver request from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. And they had several requests on the table. Some had already been passed related to passenger vehicles. And this one just didn't get through, was not approved in the Biden administration. And so what CARB told us was that out of a fear that the Trump administration would come in and just deny the request, they pulled the request off the table. Now, there is an interesting side angle to this story as well, because there's multiple ways you can achieve these objectives. You can go to the federal government or the EPA and you can request these regulations or these waivers to make stricter rules for air quality or other environmental quality rules. Or you can go to private industry and you can make deals with auto manufacturers. And the question now is, what strategy does CARB have here? We've seen in the past, in the first Trump administration, where CARB did go to the auto manufacturers and basically bypass the administration and said, well, we'll achieve our goals anyways, even though it's not a federal regulation. If all the manufacturers comply, we can still do this. So there's one element that we could still see some move towards some of these proposals or some of these agendas. It just wouldn't be through federal regulations. It would be through business instead.
So do you think the electric truck mandate will continue? How do you think it will work?
It looks like the electric truck mandate's dead for now. And part of the reason it died, or it's not doing well in the moment, is that it was just really difficult to comply with. We talked to industry experts, we talked to trucking company owners, we talked to manufacturers, and it was just the idea of transitioning to trucks. These are heavy-duty trucks we're talking about, like 18-wheelers, things that are pulling massive amounts of weight, where you really need heavy-duty chassis. You need really, it's technology that almost doesn't even exist yet in terms of the zero emission. Yeah. Yes. So when we talked to people, there was a lot of concerns about if there was a forced transition, that the market wasn't ready for it yet. The state doesn't have the charging infrastructure. There's not enough of the actual trucks or the batteries available. Even if you had the money and could afford to transition, you can't just order these trucks like you could order traditional ones. So there were a lot of concerns on both sides, even from some of the environmentalists about, are we moving too fast, trying to force compliance with things that are impossible to comply with? And CARB, just kind of reading the tea leaves there, just pulled the order so that Trump couldn't come in and just initially reject it. Doesn't mean that this is gone per se, but it's definitely stalled. The trucking industry was going to have to move quickly. Now they have some time. They can save money for investment, or they can reevaluate their strategies moving forward.